Hi guys, it's me again. I just had that very emotional video that I made a little while ago, and I sort of want to follow up with that. But first of all, this is a trigger warning about mental health. Please, if anything related to mental health, depression, anxiety, unaliving, please do not let this video trigger you. Just exit out. I'm going to talk about really an experience I had. Since I was talking about my mother, and I had depression, anxiety before that. Of course, that made it worse, and now chronic pain. But I sort of want to talk about the one incident, um, probably the worst thing that I ever did. And so I wrote notes. That's what I do. I look down and I write notes. So please excuse me for that. So let's talk about serious mental health and what lengths people will go as a result. And that is specifically me. I went to a length for a certain result, and you will see what I mean. So it started when I was in elementary school and got bullied a lot, and it carried on through middle school and even high school. So my bullying definitely contributed to my actions. I was scared to go to school, basically. I was being bullied for so many years. I was sick of it. I'm an introvert. I don't like confrontation, so I would just deal with the things people would say and even touch me, like, not touching inappropriately, but still, like, trying to hurt me, but not hard enough to where a teacher would step in. And back then, teachers, and I'm 45, so teachers disregarded a lot last, I would say, the last 20 to 30 years. And so now you see how school is now, and they're strict. They don't tolerate anything, name calling, anything. And I am so glad that my kids are in a good school district. No school is every school is different, and no school is perfect. Okay, but I grew up very poor, and so I was forced to go to the same school as the other poor kids. Some poor kids are nice, and some aren't. You know, um, so yes, they don't tolerate things like that no more. Okay, so at age 14 to 15th, trigger warning. Guys, please do not listen to this if you're going to be triggered. Okay, so age 14, March of 1993. It was right before I was about to turn 15. I made a drastic decision. I didn't want to go to school, but I had missed so many days already. The ironic part is, I did want to go to school. I've always wanted to go to school. I just wanted to be left alone. I don't know why I had to be bullied so much. I mean, that still lives with me to this day. That affects your everything, self-esteem, your confidence, everything. And anyway, in any event, I was scared to go to school. I really was. And so one morning, I didn't want to go to school, but I had already missed so many days. And looking back, I do understand my mom's reasons on, like, you need to go to school. She knew I missed so many days. We're gonna have to go to the magistrate. They're gonna fine us. We can't afford it. But I was pissed at her. Excuse my language. I didn't care about the consequences about what I did. Rest in peace, Mom. I'm sorry you worried so much, and I'm sorry that I put you through that. I didn't want to go to school. So I grabbed whatever I seen in the medicine cabinet. I'm going to try not to get too emotional like the last video. We had Tylenol in the cabinet. That's all we had, That's what my mom would buy and give me for headaches, because I've been having headaches since I was very little. So I grabbed the Tylenol bottle and I just poured a bunch in my hand and I swallowed them. I want to say 15 of them, but I really don't know. I don't know why I have that number in my mind. And so I told my mom, and she called 911. I did something that stupid and dangerous, all because I didn't want to go to school, because I was scared. Now, I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me, because, I mean, that's just the decision I made. I didn't know what else to do, because I would tell my mom about what was happening at school, but she didn't know what to do either, you know? Because back then, the teachers and the principals, there was never really consequences like there should have been. Okay, so at the hospital, you know, the ambulance took me straight there. They immediately pumped my stomach. The procedure to put the device down my throat into my stomach was one of the worst things I've ever experienced. And I've had multiple surgeries, given birth 3 times, once to a 9-pound baby with no pain medicine. To this day, my chronic pain, I wouldn't trade it in for that, but that was one of the worst experiences of my life. See, before I did the Tylenol, I wasn't thinking about any of this. I just thought, okay, I took Tylenol, you know, my stomach's going to hurt. I did it because I didn't want to go to school, guys. I was not suicidal. Please do not tag this video as harmful. I wasn't. I did not want to unalive myself. I didn't. I just didn't want to go to school, and that sounds so pathetic. But it was one of the worst things I experienced. I was obviously considered suicidal. I mean, come on, I just took Tylenol, they're pumping my stomach. Excuse me. I really wasn't, though. I did have depression, anxiety, okay? But to this day, I don't think I understood quite what that entailed, you know? I think I grew up with anxiety for a long time, but I didn't know what it was at the time. Like, I would be embarrassed easily, afraid easily, and a lot of the ways that I thought was truly anxiety, but I didn't know that at that time. You know, my mom didn't sit me down and say, I want to talk to you about depression and anxiety, but I know that I had it for a very long time. So I was considered suicidal. Did I have depression, anxiety? Yes. I felt that going to the hospital was better than mental torture of high school. I was tired of all the bullying, starting from elementary to high school. So I got admitted to a facility about an hour away from home. It was not by choice, it was mandatory. In my screwed up head, it still was better than going to school. Even though they did have a program, sort of, that you would, you know, they try to put you on a program every day, a set schedule. And so there would be school time. It wouldn't be all day, though. And so, anyways, it was 20, I think it was 17 or 27, I don't know. It was 17 or 27 mandatory days. I was not allowed to leave. Nobody could sign me out. I do remember I got visitors once or twice. And I do remember I was allowed to leave one time for a few hours. I guess I had shown that, you know, I'm not a danger to anybody or myself, and they allowed me to have a family visit and then come back the same day. So, yeah, it was sad because I truly loved school, but nobody would leave me alone. I had these awful bullies standing in the way of my education. Most people would say, I can't believe you're making such a big deal about this, and why didn't you go to the principal or the teacher? It wasn't that easy. I was afraid of consequences from the kids, too, if they find out that I snitched on them. So I spent a lot of time at this facility. I wanted to get out, and they watched everything, literally. Everything you do, they watch. Again, in retrospect, I understand that because they need to keep an eye on you because they think you're suicidal. They watched everything from, first of all, the door had to be open at night. You slept in a very plain Jane room, and I had to be watched while I showered, and even when I shaved my legs. It was so demeaning. It was. But again, I understand the purposes. So I was still pissed at my mom. And I live with that guilt every day. I was a little brat. Even after I took the pills, I was still pissed at her. because she wanted me to go to school that day. I only agreed to go stay with Aunt Ida and Uncle Frank when it was time to leave. And I hope my mother in heaven forgives me for not going home. My mom agreed for me to go stay with them. And I can't imagine the mentality my mother felt that I was going to her sister's house and not home. So I moved in with Aunt Ida and Uncle Frank at the end of March 1993. I was soon to turn 15. At 15 was when I finally blossomed as a young lady, and I started having a little bit more confidence. I don't know if it's because I was in a different environment, away from the people that were mentally torturing me, primarily. So I finally felt like I took pride in my appearance, and the new confidence felt great. I can't lie. I never felt good about myself. And I did have to switch schools because I was in a new, probably 40-minute drive from my mother's house. So I had to switch schools, which I was nervous about because it was already the end of March, beginning of April. School was going to get out. I still had to go, though. So I did go to school, and I made friends. Like, I made friends in the shorter period of time that I was there. Even though I was shy and everything, I just needed somebody to be nice to me, you know? That's all. And I could be friends with them because I think I treat people decent, with respect. So, yeah, I was like, I can't believe I have these nice friends and people are being nice to me. What? I'm the new girl. So I took pride of how I looked. I started to, dress nicer and, fix my face up. I think that's when I first started really wearing makeup. And I don't know, I was just at that, I was so tired of being a nobody, just a victim. And so I started having the confidence. Boys were paying me attention. They never did that before. And, of course, that makes you feel your self-esteem go up, I mean, it's just probably the beginning of me having a little bit of confidence, because I do have self-esteem issues to this day. But yeah, I made friends. I was shy at first, but it got so much easier because they treated me nice. I got compliments, and this was 100% new to me. Like, nobody complimented me before. Of course, it upped my self-esteem. Of course it did. And when boys would compliment me or ask me to go out with them, I thought it was a cruel joke. I am not kidding, because that's all, that part of me still exists now, 30 years later. 30 years later, I still don't believe I'm good enough. And that has more to do with the other parts of my adult life, too. It's not just childhood, but, I mean, this just lives with you. This stuff here lives with you. So yeah, all this time later, I can't undo. I did meet a guy there at school for the little period I was there. I would hang at his house innocently, and even Aunt Ida and Uncle Frank let him come to their house to meet him, and they were super strict parents. Oh my goodness, on their kids when it came to dating. And Uncle Frank wasn't real pleased about me just turning 15 and dating a boy, but he agreed to meet him. They seemed to like him. I mean, it was just a couple month thing, wasn't a big deal, but it gave me confidence that, okay, he thought, I was pretty. He thought I was good enough. Like, I thought he was too cute for me. Like, no, what are you doing? Is this a joke? Again, am I in like a reality show? And so it was after spring and summer that I decided to go home to my mom. I did not know how much I missed my mother until I walked in the door. It just, my mom was forgiving, and she could be strict too, but she welcomed me back with open arms. I miss that lady so much. I'm sorry, guys. I really wanted to get that off my chest since I had already talked about my mother dying and how mental health goes into all of this, you know. The physical pain, you know, I'm still going to talk about that, but I did want to get my story out there too. One of my stories, so that people watching this that maybe not in chronic pain but have anxiety, depression, OCD, or any mental health condition can relate. Like, okay, so yeah, I was treated this way. It's very hard when you're down on yourself. I mean, being poor was one thing, but that's not the reason that I got bullied. That's not the reason I took that Tylenol. It's not. So that is my story. Um, that's the worst thing that ever happened to me after my mother's death. Nothing will ever be above my mother's death. Unless something happened to my children, then it would be terrible.